Hello YouTube, welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot. I'm your host Captain Mac, and today we are going to take that next step. We're going to hop on over from Boise to Seattle so that we can start that mission that we've been waiting to get going on. And we're still in CRJs anyway. We're flying a CRJ 700 and we have a Horizon Air paint today, so everything's good to go. We're ready to rock and roll. We'll talk a little bit more about this information when we hop on over into the sim. So let's get that started. Yeah. Alright, ladies and germs, here we are in our Horizon Air CRJ 700 in Boise, Idaho, and we're going to be using the default CRJ for the rest of this mission. And just to keep it short and simple, I'm sick of that other one. Okay, I tried, I gave it a shot, but you know what? Just doing a normal flight and the auto throttle, which, by the way, there is no auto throttle in this aircraft. But for whatever reason, it decided it wanted to have its own auto throttle and stuck itself on. It wouldn't let me land the airplane because it was doing like 280 knots, and it just blows my mind how somebody could sell a piece of crap like that. Okay, I'm done with my rant. Listen, here's what I want to talk about real quick. See this graphic down over here in the corner? Yeah, down over here. Yep, there you go. Okay, so that thing looks awesome, right? I think it's fantastic. I'm proud of myself. I love this little graphic over here. However, fair is fair. That's not my idea. I didn't come up with that on my own. I found something very similar to that, and I made it my own because that's the right thing to do. But I found something very similar to that on somebody else's channel. I took one look at it. It's the first time I saw it. I said, oh my God, that is like the greatest thing in the world. That is so freaking cool. I can't believe I never thought of that. I got to do that on my channel. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing it, but got to give credit where credit's due. So many of you, I'm sure, have already heard of Matt Davies. He has a flight simulation channel, very popular, fantastic videos, and it was on his videos that I first saw this. And so Matt, if by some miracle you happen to be watching my channel in this particular video, I hope you don't mind. I imitate because I admire it. Just awesome the way you did that. And so from now on, I'm gonna start putting these on mine. Of course, like I said, I gave it my own flavor. It's got some things on there that you know, that are unique to me, and you know, just a different style because I didn't want to copy yours completely. But I did get the idea from Matt Davies. So kudos to Matt Davies, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think about the little graphic down there, and there'll be a couple others that pop up, and truth be told, I got most of those from Matt Davies videos too. That guy just puts together some awesome videos, doesn't he? I mean, that's fantastic. I've never endorsed anybody else's channel. I don't even have the stature, if you will, to endorse anybody, but I just love that guy's videos. He does a fantastic job. They're so well done, professionally looking, professionally made. I mean, he just does good work. So, all right, I'm not in love with Matt Davies, ladies and gentlemen, but I am absolutely in love with his videos, and so that's where that graphic comes from. And I just wanted to make sure that I gave that credit where it was due, especially if you're a Matt Davies fan and you see that in there, oh, you copied him. Yes, I did. Okay, so fair enough. All right, so we need to hop in here and get this thing started. Before we do, as usual, we need to go ahead and fire up our A cars here. So I've already got A cars started up. I've already got the flight loaded in there. I haven't put the route in yet. Don't care about the route so much. Remember, we've been over this a bunch of times. If you haven't seen it in the past, this route is just for this flight map. It has to be, you have to have a route in there, but you don't actually have to follow the route that you put in there. So there you have it. We're going to go up to 36,000 feet on this flight, as you can see from our graphic down there. And the graphic has the actual flight plan you can see that we're going to be following. So we're good to go on that. Flight's all set up. Just as always, I like to do a double check. We're at Boise. That's our current location. Yep, so we're not going to get charged any jump seat time. We're in the proper aircraft. Off to Seattle we go. 346 miles, hour and 25 minutes. Let's get her done. So hit start flight. Now, we've got a CRJ 700 in there, right? But the scheduled aircraft model CRJ7, this, I've mentioned this before, it's just a difference in the way it's titled. As long as you know the aircraft you have is the proper aircraft within the substitution chart, don't worry about this. Worst case scenario, your hub manager has to take a quick look at it. He sees, okay, yep, CRJ700, CRJ7 are the same, approves the pilot, and you're good to go. So it's not a problem. Just check mark that. We're all set. We're boarding now. Let's shrink that down, get out of our way, and let's hop into our aircraft here and see what we got going on. Gotta love default aircraft. I've turned all the power off on this thing. Oh, no, that's not correct. I did flip the APU on. So our avionics are still up and running and all that good stuff. So it is what it is. But let's just take a quick look here. Not as complex as our payware was, but then again, our payware was a piece of crap. So we got what we got. All right. So battery master is actually supposed to be on. I don't know why it's flipped off there. We can see the APU is on. And APU generator is on, so we're good to go there. Here's our fuel pumps. Got all our lights down here, some passenger signs here. In fact, we can flip these down to auto right there. That's where I'd like to have those at. ELT, we're not going to be doing anything with that. Still don't have a checklist for this. Nobody's coughed one up. Come on, guys, give me a checklist. Most of this stuff doesn't light up or doesn't work, doesn't actually do anything. You see, I can't do anything with all this, so we're not going to be worried about all that. However, I can start the engines, so that's good. So we'll be putting our continuous ignition on using the start buttons when the time comes. That being said, well, let's hop over here. Actually, I like this view a little bit better. And let's take a look at our flight plan. And you're saying to yourself, well, there's no FMC. You are absolutely right, sir. And I am just amazed by your prowess. Yeah, you're right. There's no FMC in here. What we've done is we've gone ahead and we've put a flight plan into FSX. And what we're going to do is go to our FSX flight planner, and then we're going to load that flight plan. There it is, Boise to Seattle. Open it right on up. We're not going to hit find route because I've plotted the route through my flight planner, and so I don't want to change anything. So I just want to hit OK, and then I don't want it to move my aircraft to the departure list on my flight plan. There's two reasons for this. First of all, I should already have my aircraft loaded where I want it. If you haven't loaded your aircraft where you want it, well, then I say shame on you. You need to get in the habit of loading your aircraft where you want it, not having Flight Simulator move it for you. Secondly, I've already started ACARS. If I have Flight Simulator move my airplane, it's going to show up as a slew in ACARS, and the PIREP's going to be rejected. Keep that in mind. So hit no. There we go. We're all set. Flight plan's in there. Now it's not we don't have your standard layout here. This is our multifunction display. It's fantastic, but we're limited in our options here. Now listen, I'm no master of the CRJ 700 by any means here, especially not the default. So as I move around here, my apologies. Let's see if we might be able to make some changes. That's just the difference between nav GPS, right? So we click that, we're on GPS mode now. Can we change the range? Doesn't look like it. Oh yeah, it says we can for the map mode. So we just need to find a way to get it on map mode. That's bearing pointer. What are we looking at here? Nope. I'm just trying to find it real quick for your benefit. But of course I'm not finding anything. There's got to be a way to switch it to map mode. We'll play around with it here in a little bit. I'm not going to do it all right now. If you happen to already, if I never find it or whatever and you know how to flip it to map mode, please let me know. Otherwise, enough is enough. Beacon is turned on. Logo light, it's on. But, well, no, I'm sorry. It was off. I thought that the switch was the other way. Okay, I'm an idiot. Let's get that stupid bar off up there. And so yeah, without really much of a checklist to go, we're pretty much stuck with what we're stuck with, and it is what it is. So what do you say we go ahead and push this sucker back and get started? Sounds like fun to me. So our wind today is 080 at 5 knots. So that's going to be runway 10 left is going to be our departure. So let's talk to ground here. Let's see, push back in departure. We want our nose to go left. Look at all these choices here. Well, let's see. Technically, we're Alaskan Airlines. That's where Horizon Air comes from. Do they have one on here? Doesn't look like it. So who do we want to do? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's do Frontier Airlines. What the heck? And we want the nose to go to the left, tail go to the right. That is a monstrous pushback truck for this little CRJ, huh? Good times. All right, there is no actual departure on this one. We're simply flying out and hopping on route. You do, of course, always have your two-dimensional view here. You can see we're on GPS now. Oh, yeah, we need to close the doors. Let's move that jetway back and close the door. There it is, main exit closing, and here I believe we Well, we got to change the map mode, right? It's decision height. That doesn't have anything to do with my mode on here. I don't understand that. Yeah, if somebody knows how you change the view on this, yeah, let me know. Give me a heads up on that. Meanwhile, while we're getting ready to push back, our altitude is going to be 36,000 feet. So let's go and scroll this bad boy on up. There's 36,000 feet. We don't want our speed to go above 250 knots until we get over 10,000 feet. So we'll set our speed to 250. This is the easy way to do it when you have default aircraft, right? And flight director can come on.
Flight has been inserted. Release parking brakes.
Yep. Hit the period button. Park brake is released. You can see ACAR says our passenger loading is completed, so we're good to go there. Do our speed where we want it. Flight director is on. Let's go ahead and hop in here. And let's get these engines fired up. So let's hop up here real quick. Bleed valves. It says on, you know what, auto's good. It will let you adjust those. But yeah, leave it on auto. So continuous ignition, and then we're going to start the right engine first. So click on the start button. There she is starting to spool up. Now I don't know what it is for the CRJ. I know for the 737 it's got to get to 25 or higher. It looks like it's starting to slow down a little, so I'm going to go with 20 on this one. Oh, it apparently fires itself up. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, it did the fuel switch on its own and fired the engine on its own right when it hit 20, so I obviously guessed right, didn't I? Okay, fantastic. So that's up and running. Let's go ahead and turn the right generator on at this point. We are good to go there. And we can turn the starter switch off and left engine start. And I'm assuming it's going to start itself as well, right? $18, $19, let's see if it fires on its own. Bam, there it goes. Fired on its own, so we're good to go. Obviously, we don't need to program anything with our FMS/FMC/CDU. And I set them all so that nobody can complain about what terminology I'm using. We've been over that before, haven't we? Of course we have. So I think we're good to go there. Let's go ahead and get the left generator on at this point. Left generator can come on, and that can go off. We don't need the APU anymore, so we'll hit the start-stop switch. Maybe that'll stop it, maybe it won't. Ah, there it goes. It's off, so APU generator can come off now. And like I said, we can't do anything with any of these. We don't need the fuel boost pumps. Maybe we needed those for starting the engines. But again, I don't have a checklist, guys. And, you know, you're supposed to help me out with that, right? Here's my checklist. I know, I could probably find them on my own, but I haven't put a lot of effort into that. I'm not that worried about it. We're definitely following some procedures. But, you know, listen, I'm not perfect. I'm just awesome, right? Come on, that was a little funny. I'm not feeling the love here, guys. Not feeling the love at all. Alright, taxi lights on, passenger signs on. I think we're pretty much good to go. We do need to bring in some trim here. I don't know where, is there a trim wheel on this thing? I don't think there is. But one thing I didn't find out about this, in case anybody didn't know this, is you can actually change through these, see? So there's our stabilator right there. We got 12,000 pounds of fuel, which is probably a lot more than we need. But I do know that the fuel burn rate on the default CRJ is a little high. So we're going to see how it goes. Our flight plan calls for about 8,000 pounds of fuel, so we're going to see how things go. And, you know, we'll just take it as it comes, right? Okay, so we want to come, what, one more on the flaps? There we go. We want to be flaps 20. And I think that's enough talky talk. Let's get this show on the road, eh? If I can... Okay, just trying to get settled in here. Not using track IR today. Hope you don't mind. If you do, well, sorry. Don't know what to tell you. I'm not using track IR today. I actually have to go to my regularly scheduled job here in a little bit, which I really don't want to. I'd rather be doing this with you guys all day. But the truth of the matter is something's got to pay the bills for now. And since you guys aren't forking over cash, I guess I'm going to have to go to work, right? Come on, that's a little funny. People work with me this morning. I'm in a pretty good mood, and that's not a rare thing for me, but you get where I'm coming from. So anyway, yeah, so really I'm just trying to get this flight up in the air. I want to get the recording done, and I'll probably be editing this tomorrow or the next day, something like that. But in the meantime, I enjoy spending my time here with you guys. I hope that you enjoy it as well. We're up to like 120 subscribers now, which is really fantastic. I'm very excited about that. And I really appreciate everybody that's come on board. A few subscribers have had some great suggestions and some tips about things that I wasn't sure about, so that's always nice as well. And yeah, it's just been fantastic. So those of you, if you haven't had a chance yet, I put together a video called FSX movie / military honor flight, and I put that together sort of, well, it's just what it sounds like. It's a military honor flight to honor the military men and women who've paid the ultimate sacrifice in the still seemingly ongoing, I mean, the war on terrorism is never going to end, but between Iraq and Afghanistan, it's just like, holy cow. So anyway, I served there myself. I did 3 tours in Iraq, for those of you who don't know. And, I just wanted to put that video together to honor them. And I'm working on some more, actually, some other videos as well, along those similar lines. But anyway, a lot of time and energy. I did not realize how much effort goes into making those cinematic style movies like that with FSX. So, hats off to those guys out there. There's a few guys out there who make them on a regular basis. Good stuff. But if you haven't had a chance to see that, take a look. It's right there on my channel, and let me know what you think about it. And yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there. Okay, enough talky talk. We're coming up. We'll be at runway 10 left here shortly. Let's pull those throttles back for a second. We're gonna have to bring these landing lights on. Good to go there. And as we're coming up, I'm looking at the approach here, make sure there's no other aircraft coming in. I'm not seeing any. So I think we should be good to go on that. Sorry if I flung that around a little too quick on you. And we don't want to follow that up around straight ahead there, because runway 10 left is right here. So we've already checked our approach path. It is clear. We're good to go on that. Everything else is done. All final checks are clear. We're ready to rock and roll. Pretty quick start on this one, but hey, it's me, so I still talk a lot, right? I can't help it. I don't know why. It's funny. I talk a lot on here, and I don't hardly talk in real life. Okay, let's get this bird in the air. Some of you are like, yeah, right. No, seriously. I can talk all day long on here. I can talk up a storm. And when I teach classes, because I teach classes for my job, it's part of what I do, I can talk quite a bit in class too, but other than that, I'm not really much of a talker. So, yeah, I know it's surprising. Let's see if I can keep this thing in the middle of the runway. That'd be nice, huh? We don't technically have V speeds, but I know we're going to rotate here to about 140 knots, and that's right here. Whoop! And that CRJ, especially the default, she loves to jump up in the air, so just keep that in mind when you go to rotate. Okay, positive rate of climb. Gear is coming up at this point. You can see those little yellow hash marks there tell us that the gear is traveling. It does have the wonderful little auto flap feature on it, so it already moved our flaps up a little bit for us, which the real aircraft will do as well. I don't know why it's trying to turn to the left there. And we can bring up the next flap setting there, level off just a little bit, bring in a little trim. I trimmed it a little high, my fault. The trim's pretty touchy on this thing as well. A little high on our RPMs there. Let's go ahead and roll that back. We're well beyond our transition altitude at this point anyway, and I think we can go ahead and hit that autopilot on. So let's hit autopilot engage, speed hold, because we don't want to go over 250 knots, and then let's hit not heading, nav hold, altitude hold, and let's see, what's our rate of climb. Looks like it's gonna be what, 15, it's probably 18 or 1900 feet per minute. That's like the average that they built into this thing. Well, there we go. We got to go up with the wheel here. So let's go up to 2,500 feet per minute, because this little rocket ship, this sucker can get going, right? And what else? Until we go past 10,000 feet, there's really nothing else to do. The landing lights will come off as we pass 10,000 feet. I thought I changed my altimeter up. You know what? I messed up on that. This is when you don't have a checklist. Yeah, I need to come up with a checklist for this thing. I really do. I'm going to do that before the next flight, guys. I'm going to come up with a checklist. In the meantime, after takeoff checklist, essentially setting cruise power, bringing the flaps up. Gear was already up, of course. Yeah, so then we just go into the climb checklist, which really is going to be monitoring the flight instruments, watching the and having our cruise power or our climb power set, which we don't quite have. We're actually a little low right now. I want to bring it up a little bit. And oh, well, actually, my apologies. The way the thing, it's a default aircraft, so it's just gonna, you set the speed and it's just gonna do that, right? But because of my that's actually a little weird. I wonder why it's doing that. I set the speed at 250, right? Is there an auto throttle button on this thing? Speed set at 250. And I clicked on the speed hold, but it's not reaching that speed. Now the reason I say it's weird. Hold on a minute. Turn the landing lights off. The reason I say that that's weird is because it's not giving me full throttle. So it's not my rate of climb. It's just not giving me full throttle. Let's go ahead and crank the speed up. We're over 10,000 feet now. So let's bring our speed up to 300 knots for now. And let's go ahead and continue the climb, and I'll see you guys when we get up to cruise altitude. How's that sound? And here we are, of course, at cruise altitude, flight level 360. We got about 200 something miles to go before we reach our top of descent. Not a whole lot to do up here, obviously. We want to monitor our engine instruments, make sure that we're not having any issues, make sure that the fuel flow is going well. We can do that by going over to the fuel page, making sure there's no issues here, and of course always keeping an eye on our fuel. As I said, this default CRJ does burn a lot of fuel, so we've burned a little over 2,000 pounds already, is it? Oh, just over 1,000. Yeah, just over 1,000 pounds. We had 12,000 and change in there, so just over 1,000 pounds for taxi, takeoff, and climb to cruise. So I suppose that's not too bad. Again, the flight plan called for a little over 8,000 pounds. We went with 12 to make sure we had plenty. I'm gonna do the math. If I remember, I'll do it on here. But basically, we just want to keep an eye on that and make sure that that we're kind of tracking our fuel for a little bit here, since we don't really have a good solid grasp on this. And then if it really is burning too much fuel to where we have a flight that's, if we have any flights that are near its max range and we know it's not going to be able to make that flight, maybe we need to go into the config file and make an adjustment to the fuel burn rate. Now you can go online and track down the fuel burn rate. The problem is the way the fuel burn rate works in the real world, you know, pounds per hour, based on different settings, whether it be your N1 or whatever, is not the way that it's configured in FSX. And the FSX config file is just a solid number. It's not really in pounds per hour. And if necessary to go do that, I'll show that to you. But basically, it's set up, I believe, as a percentage. So it's like 175 or whatever it is the way they set up their fuel burn rates. So I know it's a little high on this because I've dealt with this aircraft before, and that was on my old PC, and I have not made a change to the config file on this PC, which means, you guessed it, we're going to have to probably adjust that later on. So when we do, I'll show that to you so you know what we're dealing with. Yeah, okay, I talked about that long enough. So we're going to hang out here at cruise altitude for a little while, and then we'll do the take care of that descent checklist when the time comes.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, this is your captain speaking. We are nearing our descent point into Seattle. We've turned the fasten seatbelt sign back on, so if you would please take your seats as the flight attendants begin to prepare the cabin for landing. The weather down in Seattle right now is looking pretty good. The wind is out of the south at about 5 knots. Good visibility and some broken clouds. Right around 11,000 feet, and maybe some more clouds up higher at 20,000 feet. Those won't be any concern for us today. And the temperature is a balmy, cool 19 degrees Celsius. We hope you enjoyed your flight with us today on Horizon Air, and that you will choose us again in the future through Phoenix Virtual Airways.
And we'll be coming up on our top of descent here shortly, and just a few things to take care of. But first things first, I just want to say, in case anybody's wondering, the elevator music during climb and cruise, and maybe even some here during descent, absolutely, those are ideas that I also took from another channel. I thought they were pretty fantastic, so I'm going to probably incorporate those into future videos as well, unless it really, really annoys you, in which case I will probably incorporate it more. Just kidding. Come on, that was a little funny. You guys aren't working with me today at all. I'm going to have to get this descent done and get this plane landed because I actually have to go to work, which really kind of stinks, but you know, that's life. Got to pay the bills. So as we're getting ready for our descent here, coming up on our left side, heading in the opposite direction, you may see a Southwest Airlines 737. Maybe not. We'll see what happens. Weather's looking good down there in Seattle, so as far as our descent checklist is concerned, we need to consider our rate of descent and our speed during the descent, and because we need to get there quickly, I'm going to maintain our speed at a relatively high until we get down below 10,000 feet. And we'll be landing on, what runway do we choose? Runway 16 left, I believe it is. It is an ILS. I've already tuned the frequency in at 110.30. Or if you're from the European area, it's 110.30. So there you go. Yep, I'm a equal opportunity YouTube guy. That didn't come out as good as I'd hoped. Alright, so let's get ready for descent here. We're probably not going to see that Southwest Airlines plane because he's about to pass us, and I don't see him anywhere out there, which is a shame because it's always kind of cool when you get the opportunity to see other traffic out there, but it is what it is. So let's get ready to kick this off. We got just a couple miles left here, less than a minute, and we're going to start this descent. Because this is default aircraft, if I change the altitude right now, it's just going to start descending. It's not like your VNAV profile that you get from your, your complex PMDG aircraft and whatnot. So, not a big deal. We can go ahead and just start that descent now. The auto throttle, even though in the real world this aircraft doesn't have an auto throttle, the auto throttle should take care of, in this default aircraft, should take care of our speed for us, and then we'll just adjust that as we go. The standard rate of descent in default aircraft is typically 1,800 feet per minute, and that's probably what we're looking at here. So we're going to put it down to 3,000 feet to start with, and we'll be actually into our arrival here in a minute, and we've already briefed that. I'm sorry, we haven't briefed the arrival, so let's go ahead and brief the arrival right now. So we're going to be taking the Chins 1 arrival into Seattle today, and we will be transitioning right here at Chins. That makes it pretty easy, doesn't it? Let's see, what do we got here for our Chins 1 arrival? Oh, by the way, we're going to be going into runway 16 left. We're coming from this general vicinity down here. We'll intercept Chins, turn to 286 degrees. We're not going to be worried about any holds or anything like that because, well, guess what? We're still not using ATC. Fantastic. That makes life easy. Let's see here. Between here, this 10,000, this is the altitude they want us at, 9,000. And I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I believe that when the number is in red and italic, it means something along the lines of that's like the minimum safe altitude in the area or something. But don't quote me on that. I am going to be doing a tutorial on the Lido star charts here pretty soon, and then we'll have that settled, won't we? We shouldn't have to worry about any holds or anything like that. But when we get here to Ratty, let's see, if we're a jet landing south, that's us because we're landing on runway 16 left. We need to be at or above 16,000 feet. If you were landing north, then you need to be between 10 and 12,000 feet right there. Okay. The arrow's pointing out the highest altitude in the area that we have to concern ourselves with, 14,416 feet. We're going to go there. Okay, so on in to hump. We need to be at or below 15,000 feet when we reach hump. And then into Auburn, we need to be at 12,000 feet, where we're going to make a turn to approximately 340 degrees for our downwind approach. And then from there, of course, air traffic control would be telling us where to go. But in our case, we're going to fly downwind until we get a little bit of space there, and then we'll turn. We'll take care of our approach. Things of note here: the ATIS is on 118.0. We can use that to check the weather. I'll be using my active sky at 2012 because FSX always screws it up anyway. And the approach frequency on 123.90, and I'll mention this in another tutorial, but nice thing about LIDO charts, you want to know where your frequencies are? They're always in the green box. Those are your main frequencies for the chart. Frequencies for VORs are always in a blue box. VOR, 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 and same thing for NDBs and all that stuff. Yep, so, but this is not a tutorial on this chart. Okay. Anything else we need to know on here? I don't think so. That's basically our approach. So just one more time, we're going to join the approach at Chins. We'll remain at or above 10,000 feet. We'll be quite a bit higher than that anyway, because we're supposed to be at 16,000 feet, at or above 16,000 feet at Ratty. This has to do with minimum safe altitudes. So crossing Ratty, we'll be at or above 16,000 feet, at or below 15,000 when we cross Hump. Plenty of time to make that transition, just 15 miles between the two. And then on up to Auburn at 12,000, where we'll be on vectors at that point. Any questions about the approach? Not the approach. It's not the approach. It's the arrival, for goodness sake. Any questions about the arrival? Of course not, because you're watching a video. Alright guys, we'll see you here in a little bit. And as we continue our descent into the haze here, we're pretty well into that approach at this point. Let's go ahead and, or not the approach, but the arrival. Let's go ahead and brief the approach so that we can get that taken care of, because once we get to Auburn, we're going to be pretty busy dealing with our headings and whatnot. So let's brief that approach real quick. And as previously mentioned, we're going to be flying the ILS runway 16 left into Seattle today. So taking a quick look at our approach chart here, and I have done a tutorial on approach charts, and I believe if I haven't already posted the 102, I did the tutorial charts tutorial on approach charts 101, and then there's a 102, which is some add-on about this information here. So if that's not up there for some reason, I'll be sure to get that up there right away. So take a look at critical information here real quick. We already know, based on the arrival briefing, that we'll be taking a right turn for a downwind, a left downwind approach that'll bring us right along here. And we're not actually programming this approach in, and by that I mean I'm not putting these waypoints into my GPS. We're flying this default aircraft. It does not have an FMS in it, and I'm not going to go to all the work that it takes to program in these waypoints. So what that means is, once we turn on that heading of 340, 342-ish, somewhere in there, depending on how far off FSX wants to be on its radials. So we'll just call it 340 for now. Once we turn on that 340, we're headed this way. Basically, what I'm going to be looking at on my GPS and my EFB, my electronic flight bag, is I'm going to be looking for the end of this. They call it the feather here. That's our ILS glide slope and localizer indicator. When I just get far enough past that I can make a complete turn and intercept the localizer and glide slope, then I'm just going to do that using heading mode. And then we'll intercept that, as I said, we'll intercept that glide slope and localizer, and then that'll put us on the ILS. So all that being said, let's make sure we understand what that is. The ILS for 16 left is on frequency 110.3, and the ILS name is ISNQ. That's all our distance measuring is related to ISNQ. So when this tells us 12-point distance, 12.8 ISNQ, okay, that's from where ISNQ is actually located at, which in this case, that's not it. That's the Seattle Vortex. Let's see, does it show us? There it is. So right here at the threshold of the runway, you'd be 1.8 miles from ISNQ, which means it's on this end of the runway. Okay, so that's our frequency, 110.30 for the ILS. ATIS is still on 118.0, tower is on 119.9, ground is on 121.7. Critical things we need to concern ourselves with in the area: our downwind approach. Even though Seattle Airport has a nice low elevation of 433 feet, on our downwind approach off to our right there are some mountains and some other obstacles such as this one that reach as high as 3,000 feet. And then of course we've got the peak of this mountain over here at 4,455 feet. So we want to make sure that we remain aware of those. We must have DME or radar for this procedure, which we do, so we're good on there. And there's a little note here: the localizer coverage is restricted to 15 degrees left of center line. So we're flying this way, so the left would be on this side. So if we're more than 15 degrees off to the left side here, the aircraft is not going to recognize the localizer isn't putting a signal out there. Don't know why they did that.
Captain.
Probably something to do with the towns over here or something like that. So we must, when we make this turn here, we won't be able to intercept the localizer basically until we've turned all the way on to final. Any other critical information we need to consider here? This tells us all our lighting. I've explained that before. It is there is a slope, negative gradient on the runway, so we want to take that into account as far as being able to slow down quick enough. We do have plenty of distance on this runway, plenty of length beyond our touchdown zone, so we should be good to go there. And let's see, we don't need this. We're using the glide slope. We don't need this. This is our initial approach fix here, or I'm sorry, our intermediate fix here is at Helzer, and it's also where, but it's not where we intercept the localizer. That's down here at approximately 1,900 feet, it says. That being said, I know that you can typically intercept the localizer out here as well, and that's what we're going to try and do. Anything else? We are a Category C aircraft. This is our minimums for Category C. Let's see, we're flying a Cat 1. So why do we have two different ones here? Not sure what that is actually. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up, see what the LTS is. If you know what that is, you've got a Cat 1 and then a Cat 1 with a little LTS down here, and the minimums are different for those. So, but we're gonna go. So we'll go with the more restrictive of the two. So it's a minimum of 200 feet, which is 1,800 feet runway visibility range, or 0.5 miles. That's what it looks like. For some reason, I'm having a hard time getting my brain to function here. That seems to be a problem every time I record a video. Okay, this is getting a little long for an approach brief, so let's finish this up real quick. Go around procedures. If we execute a missed approach, we'll climb at heading 165, and at 900 feet we'll intercept the 161 degree radial for the Seattle VOR. Take that out to Tebni. We won't climb beyond 2,000 feet until beyond Tebni, at which point after we get to Milt, it looks like Milt, then we can climb to 5,000 feet. And that's a straight out shot here. So Milt is out here, our holding point. Tebni's right here, so at or below 2,000 feet at Tebni. And then once we're beyond Tebni, we can climb to 5,000 feet, and then we can enter a standard right-hand pattern hold there if necessary. Okay, that's the approach brief. Any questions? I got you. Somebody probably tried to ask a question there. Alright guys, we'll see you in a minute. What do you mean we'll see you in a minute? Let's land this thing. And here we are turning on to final, just about to intercept our glide slope. Just ahead of us here you can see, I believe it's called Boeing Field, but anyway, not positive. I'm pretty sure though. Boeing Field, where they build Boeing aircraft. Home of the 747, and then straight ahead of us there you can see Seattle, KSEA, or Seattle International. And that of course is where we're headed today. Bringing in some flaps here. We've already briefed the approach, obviously, so we're good to go on that. And you can see that I've already hit the approach switch, this guy right here. And since we have the frequency tuned in, it's bringing us on to the localizer here. And then as this little diamond gets centered, and there it is right there, we have now intercepted the glide slope. And we're good to go on everything. Basically, we're ready for final here. We do have a crosswind coming off the left side. We're landing at approximately 162 degrees. Let's give or take a couple because it's FSX, and The difference in real world versus FSX obviously changes over time. But about 162 degrees. The wind is coming from, what is it? Wind's changed to 123 degrees at about 6 knots. So pretty good little crosswind there. Should make for a fun little landing. And other than that, we're just going to fly it on in. Now our landing speed is going to be around 135 knots. We're going to bring this all the way down to about 140. There she is at 140. So our V approach speed plus 5. And as that comes in a little more, we'll finish bringing in those flaps. Let's go ahead and arm the spoilers. What is it? Shift tab? Can't remember for the life of me. Yeah, shift tab arms the spoilers, maybe. Nah, I don't think you can arm the spoilers on this one. Or was it alt tab? I can't remember all of a sudden because I don't normally use that. That's alright, it is what it is. Bring in a little bit more flaps here. And landing can come down at this point. Probably should have brought the gear down a little bit ago, but that's alright. As long as the gear's down before we try to land this thing, we should be good to go, right? And we'll let the auto throttle do its thing for the moment, but we'll be taking that off here shortly. Actually, looks like it's turned itself off. Interesting. Okay, well that's good. Let's see, so we want to be, oh maybe, speed hold off. There we go, that's where we want to be, right there. Bring that down a little bit more. We don't want to go too fast. Finish off our flaps there. Got to make some adjustments. Obviously, getting used to this default CRJ takes a little bit of time to adjust to any aircraft, but you guys have always been good about bearing with me, and I appreciate it. If you take a look at our fuel there, it says we still have a little over 9,000 pounds, which means for this flight we used actually a little less than, or just a shade over 3,000 pounds. So that's definitely a number we're going to write down, because we want to know where our fuel burn is at. I do know that it is still a little high. I don't even know why the flight planner called for 8,000 pounds. Probably because of the reserve and all that. But anyway, let's listen to our altitude call-outs. You can see we've got a beautiful looking scenery here. It's fantastic. My computer's acting a little slow and funky right now, but all in all, not too bad. Bring those throttles back a little more. Let's go ahead and take that autopilot off. There it is. And we are hand flying, which there's nothing to do because the airplane's got itself set. So just watch our rated descent, listen to our call outs here, and I'll shut up.
200.
Hopefully that 737 doesn't try and get on it. What happened? Too much trim, sorry. We're alright though.
100.
Go.
50. 40. 30. 20. 20. 10.
Got a little to the side there, didn't we? Still getting used to this yoke. Floated it a little, but not too bad. Nice smooth landing rate. Passengers always appreciate that. Bring in that reverse thrust there. Go ahead and apply some brakes now. We'll take this next taxiway here. Looking pretty good. Alright. Probably not my best landing. Still getting used to the yoke a little bit. It's a little sensitive. Need to probably go into the configuration settings and see if I can turn down that sensitivity just a little bit. Okay, here we go. We're going to take probably the nearest parking space here, which is straight ahead. That'll work out just fine for me. It's probably not a proper parking space for Horizon Air. That's one of the things I think I'm going to start doing here pretty soon. Let's get those landing lights off. I think I'm going to start taking a look at the parking spaces for the airline, whatever airline it is we're flying, and see if I can't choose a proper parking space just to add a little more to the immersion and realism. So it's going to bring those flaps up here, bring her to a nice easy stop. Let's see if we made it on the line. See how close we got. Oh, it just went over it a little bit. Oh, that's alright. Okay, so here we are. Let's hop back inside here. And actually we need to look down here. Let's go ahead and shut the engines down. Parking brake is already set, which means we're good to go on everything. Probably not our finest flight in the world, but we did switch aircraft and I threw a whole bunch of other stuff in there. So bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, but I think it was actually a pretty good flight. Let's take a look at our ACARS real quick here. It does show that we have arrived. See, it was booked for an hour 25 minutes. Took us an hour and 7, so that's not too bad. I did fly it a little faster since I have to go to work, but such is life. So let's end the flight there. Good to go. We're still connected. I always just check this connection right here, because if you hit file PyRep and for some reason your internet's not connected, it's just going to cause an error and you might have to refly it, which is a pain, or you have to file a manual PyRep, which is an even bigger pain. So just make sure your connection's good. File PyRep. There she is, good to go. Close that out. Yep, we're sure we want to exit. And there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Not too shabby. We can open the doors there and send the jetway over, because the passengers are probably going to want to get off. That's always nice. They appreciate that. And other than that, here we are in Seattle. And the exciting part about that is not only is this our third flight as a first officer. Was it our third? I think it was. Third flight as a first officer, but this is where we get to start our mission, which is going to be a blast. And just so that you know, as a little treat for you guys and a treat for me too, I picked up Orbix North America Land Class Pack 1, the first one that came out, which is Canada and Alaska. Took a look at it. Looks absolutely beautiful. And guess what? We're going to be doing a lot of flights in those areas in this Horizon Air mission. So we're going to see some of that, and it's going to be a good time. So enough talky talk now. I'm done blathering on. I am going to take a look at the website real quick, but let me just throw it out there as always. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. Let's hop on over to the website, take a look at where we stand, and wrap this flight up. Alright, here we are on the website, ladies and germs, and as you can see, 76 hours to go, give or take a little bit, obviously, until we reach that rank of captain. That is, of course, our next goal, and you can see right here was our last flight, Boise to Seattle, and that means our next flights, all of them, all of these are part of that mission, and if you remember correctly, when we complete that mission, we get bonus hours on top of all the hours that we've done, and we get an awesome little ribbon to stick in our ribbon rack, which is a good time because our ribbon rack is empty right now. Take a quick look at the PyRep here. There she is, Horizon Air, Boise to Seattle. Good times. Excuse me there. Let's see, that's us. 57 passengers. Total revenue was $3,526.93 with a profit margin of $59.80, which would have actually been a little bit higher if we were certain about our fuel burn. But we took extra fuel. Extra fuel means more weight. The more weight you have, the more fuel you burn. So we probably would have done a little bit better. You can see here, fuel used in kilograms was 1,350. We probably would have used just a little bit less, not much, but just a little bit less if we had known the proper amount of fuel to put in there. But again, default aircraft, I know it burns a little extra fuel, and for whatever reason, they want us to take like 8,000 pounds anyway. So interesting point there. But you can see we had 9,081 pounds of fuel when we landed. Our landing speed was 119 knots, ground speed, 123 indicated, so not too bad. A little lower than we intended to touch down, but not bad. Nice gentle landing there. Average landing, just in case anybody's wondering, average landing is probably between 200 and 300 feet per minute. That's probably your average when you fly in a real world airline, and that's actually pretty smooth. So, excuse me. And there I go, coughing in your face again. Anything below 100 feet per minute is really going to be a greaser. It's a smooth landing, so I always appreciate a nice greaser. PyRep has been accepted. It was auto-approved, so everything's good to go. We got credit for our hours, and we are done, sir, done. I'm excited, so yeah, let's get ready for that next flight. We're going to be kicking that one off here real soon. So hop back over there. We're going to be flying from Seattle to CYYC. And off the top of my head, I don't know what that ICAO code is. So, but we can take a look real quick. Why not? Let's see. It should be down here at the bottom. Nope, it's not giving us the airport name for some reason. So yeah, if you know what CYYC is, you know where we're going. I'll obviously look it up before we get ready to kick off that next flight, because we're going to have to pull up charts for that and everything anyway. But that is going to be our next flight, folks. And again, that's the start of our mission. And you can see, I know CYYC is in Canada. So we're going to see Canada there. Basically, we're going to see quite a bit of that. My brain just completely went blank there. We're gonna see quite a bit of that Land Class North America, which is gonna be fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, I blathered on long enough. Thanks for joining me once again, folks. Have a great day, and I will see you on the next flight.